on YouTube. It'll go up on my website. Nick, you can repost it on your website. I think you've got your media page up. I'll probably convert it into a audio recording as well, so I can put it on Spotify. I've still got my Spotify account that I put stuff on. We'll probably wait 2 minutes just to see if people keep dropping in. Three people. It's a good turnout. Yeah, and Eventbrite did a good job of being able to automate those reminder emails as well. Really easy system to set up. Nick, have you used it before?
No.
No, it was simple as anything.
All the webinars I've ever done have been for others.
Yeah.
Like Path Connect and that.
Oh yeah, Laura's. Yeah.
Yep.
You got another one coming up?
Nervous system regulation. Actual evidence-based nervous system regulation.
Yep.
I know Annette and Nick.
Morning, Nick.
Morning.
Hey,
Christina.
Hey, Nick, you got a fresh haircut, looking good.
Good. Cheers.
So do I.
And
Hi, Annette.
we're just waiting a couple of minutes to see if anybody more joins. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
It's always nice when you have a webinar and half the people that turn up are your friends. We'll give another minute and we'll get started.
That's very true.
See if I can adjust this view. Yeah, that looks nicer for me. Okay, we could probably get started.
Yeah, kick off.
So, webinar idea that we came up with a couple of months ago. Nick and I have been talking a lot about intentionality, lifestyle design, protecting the things that we want to protect. And then we just came up with the idea of, how about we just do a webinar on saying no? How do we do it? How do we do it in a calm and comfortable sort of a way that isn't harmful to us and is like approachable for other people to be able to learn as well?
Yeah, one of the things that we spoke about was how do we protect our space, protect our relationships in a way that also make sure that your healthy relationships are maintained. So one thing we'll chat about throughout the webinar is if the relationship is unhealthy and you place boundaries, it might suffer the unhealthy relationships.
It exposes it. Yeah.
Yeah. Healthy relationships will flourish.
Yeah.
With this stuff.
Yeah. And we did want to do it from I guess a neurodivergent lens. Both Nick and I are autistic, so we have some sensory and energy management issues that we deal with that other people, neurotypical people, might not deal with. So there are some things in there that we wanted to talk about as well, and how we identify them and learn how to protect them.
Sure.
So an introduction. So my name's Liam, occupational therapist at Estes Health, and Nick.
I am an OT as well, and I run Kintsugi OT.
Thanks very much.
We specialize working with autistic adults only, mostly telehealth, but a little bit of local work in Newcastle where I am.
Yep, and we do pediatrics through to adults over here in Perth and telehealth, and we're going to be launching our driving OT business in the next few months, sometime in the next few months. Just waiting for accreditation and a few other things. Okay, let's get started. So, Nick, what is a boundary?
Boundary is a self-defined, this is the definition. It's like a bit boring, but we'll actually sort of explain what it means. It's a self-defined limit that protects your core needs and values. And you can apply boundaries across every domain of life. So it's relatively modern term. It's come out the last 20, 25 years. And it is the big misconception about boundaries are what you want other people to do. Boundaries are about what you do. And like an example can be, if this happens, then I will do this. So some things that kind of look like boundaries but aren't boundaries are a value. And that's sort of like a principle underneath sort of what guides your life.
Precursor to a boundary as well.
Yes. So if you value something, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a boundary. So boundaries can protect your values, and we'll explain that more about that soon, but it's not a boundary. Another one is a rule for others. So a rule for others is something like, you may not do that. So what you're doing is asking somebody else to do something. It doesn't control what you do or how you act.
Yeah, and I think there's a very clear distinction between what a rule and a boundary is, and I don't think that's discussed very much. I think there's quite a bit of nuance within it, and I think that's a big thing for people to be able to develop. So a lot of times when I hear about people who have really good boundaries, they're actually imposing a lot of things on others rather than how they're reacting to situations and what they're trying to protect. They're controlling others through their rules rather than how they react to situations.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it takes away the other person's autonomy. Whereas what boundaries do is give you all the autonomy, which is what we probably prefer, most of us, if we're neurodivergent anyway.
Yeah, and I think this is probably one of the big areas that I work on with my PDA families as well. A lot of people, a lot of families with that PDA sort of household, they're coming from a before they go into the low demand sort of approach, they're very rule based and trying to control behaviors. This then develops over time when we're working with therapists and working with more neuroaffirming approach, where we start to take on that sort of approach of the drive for autonomy and how much autonomy can we have in each situation. But autonomy comes with being able to protect their boundaries and what people actually value in, within each situation.
Yeah, and we'll explain, like we'll give a bunch of examples of what boundaries are in the next hour. So another one is a preference. So I prefer Thai food. It's not a boundary. It's this is what I prefer to do. And the other one was a request. So a request is sort of like, oh, can you come and pick me up from the airport? It's not a boundary. So I've heard people say, my boundary is they don't do this. And I'm like, no, you're sort of requesting somebody else not to do something or to do something. So a really, really good example of a boundary that we've got here is, if you start yelling at me, I'll leave and go home. So it's basically, if this happens, this is how I'm going to respond. And that's the key difference about all of the other things that look like boundaries versus what a boundary actually is, and why boundaries are preferential and the healthiest way to do things.
Absolutely. So we've got values, rules, preferences as those alternatives to boundaries. Yeah. Oh, and requests.
Yeah. So next we've got goals on improving goals of improving boundaries, what we're actually aiming for.
Yeah, why are we here? Why do we want to have stronger boundaries, or why do we want to establish boundaries? So I think from a neurodivergent sort of perspective, I'm coming from a protect my sensory needs and very much my energy management as well. But Nick, you could probably talk more about with your adult clients and yourself as well for the relationship benefits.
Yeah, so it's actually a huge part of what I'm doing in my work at the moment is teaching people how to establish healthy boundaries. And we'll give some examples of healthy ones and unhealthy ones shortly. But when somebody is, for example, reaching into somebody's time and getting them to do things that perhaps they don't want to, and a lot of my adult clients also have that PDA profile, 3/4 of them. It's about teaching somebody how they can say no or say yes if they want to, and under what conditions they'll say yes. And what the big reason is it can build less resentment. So if somebody is constantly reaching into your time and you're doing things for somebody or doing things that you don't want to do, you can develop a sense of resentment back towards that person. And if you continually say yes to things that you don't want to say yes to, you're going to become more and more upset with them. The person requesting your time, your energy, is not doing anything wrong at all. It is basically what boundaries do is give us back our independence and our autonomy by giving us the tools we need to say no, or these are the rules. If I do this, or if you do this, I'm going to do this. So that's one of the reasons.
And I think this also applies really strongly to the workplace as well. Something that I'm really heavily focused on is supporting clinicians, new grad clinicians especially, in that prevention of burnout in those first few years. And things around intentional design of your lifestyle in those first few years, when there's so much demand from the profession, where to encroach on your time, your personal time for self-development, for just working longer hours, working extended hours. And you very quickly see in that new grad year, the people who had things that they were really enjoying doing prior to becoming full-time workers. And then those first 6 months, those first 12 months, they stop doing them. They stop going to volleyball. They stop seeing their friends. They stop going out and socializing, or just being able to switch off at night.
Yeah.
That burnout prevention, I think, comes with intentionality and boundaries. And there's a lot of things that we do from clinical supervision's perspective. We can go through the actual techniques later, but things like a master calendar, and saying when you actually work, when you're available, having things like a online booking system rather than taking calls on the fly. There's so many different things that we do.
That's something Lee and I both do. Yep. We don't have neither of us have work phones, so we can't just be contacted when we want. So we set boundaries around our time. I
do have a work phone, but it's docked. So it's only ever docked to my desk. So I've got one of those standing desks. It plugs into my desk. It never leaves my desk.
Yeah, and that's a boundary that you've set for yourself. So my phone doesn't go out with me. It stays at home, and I don't give my phone number out. That's another boundary that you've set.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just even before we started the call, we're having a quick chat about a work situation that is so common for therapists, of a support coordinator just wanting to check in with you. And how did you respond, Nick?
I said, we don't have a work phone. Please book in on my website for a chat. So that was a boundary. We don't have a work phone. And then I made a request, which is you're allowed to do. And we're not saying that you can't make requests of people, but you've sort of stated how you can access me or my time. And again, we're doing this so we can protect our time and energy for the things that are most important. So if you can't reach me via phone, I'm giving all my energy to my clients. in their sessions or when I'm writing their reports. So I'm not divided my attention, and every slot in my day has an intention, which was what Liam went back to earlier.
Yeah, and it's such a simple thing once you establish something like Calendly or the Google Calendar meeting link, of just looking at your week or your month ahead and going, these are the times when I'm going to be available for each thing. And it is just such an easy thing for us to do, like after we've established it and we know how we want to plan our week, how we want to plan our month, our actual workflows. And we get to say to people, hey, I'm going to be available for you at these times. This is when I'm available. And because we both work nationally, this works really well across time zones. So there's no back and forth or anything like that. There's no 10 emails going back and forth. Are you available at this time? Or missed phone calls. We just get to say, like, this is when I'm going to be available for this role. Outside of that, I'm probably going to be doing something else with full intentionality.
Yeah. Another, and sort of part of that goes back to sort of managing your energy. So if you know that by 3 p.m. you get fatigued, you can stop. I mean, it's easier said than done. We're both business owners. It's a little bit more tricky when you're an employee. And we'll talk about the sort of the very, very rigid boundaries that can't be touched. And then we'll talk about sort of more flexible boundaries, which can be touched. I think that's next. Is that right?
Yeah. Just on this one as well, I wanted to touch more on the sensory sensitivities. I'm not too sure about your sensory profile, Nick, but with mine, I'm extremely sensitive to certain noises and also with the amount of transitions that I have in a day. So being able to protect my time from how many times I transition between activities or locations is also a massive one for being able to protect my energy for the things I want to do.
Yes.
And part of that comes down to just having a really good awareness of how fatiguing transitions are for me. I think that comes down to a lot of things. Like if you have more awareness of where your energy capacities are going to be, then you're able to be more intentional about what you want to do. And if you're also pretty clear about the things that you want to do in life across domains, then you're able to better protect it.
Did you have an example of one of your transition boundaries? You've got some really good ones.
Like what?
Like your time between appointments.
That's right. Yeah. So on my master calendar, so my team, so Nick can probably join in on this one. Nick Peshwani, he's one of my team members. I do a thing of I have a full half an hour between each session. So I would generally do 3 or 4 sessions per day. People book in on the online booking system. I don't do their scheduling for them. They book in when they want to book in based on my availability. After every session, I've got 30 minutes to jump on my treadmill, do some sensory things, have something to eat, relax, reset, and recalibrate, and go into my next session with full focus on my next person. There's no cognitive contagion between sessions. And yes, that's a hit to total billing possible, but it also increases total billing possible because there's less factors for burnout.
Yeah, I really admire that.
And because I started doing that probably at the start of the year, and I think you pushed back on that one when you first saw it. It's like that why are you taking so many breaks? Like, because you're one of those ones that it can do like 3 hours in a row, but I can't. It's just not possible for me to do it.
I get more energy talking with my clients, and they're not working. Yeah, I love it.
Like part of a clinical session, you've got your face-to-face sort of time or your report writing time, and then you've got your administrative time. The administrative component for me is quite fatiguing. Regardless of how much AI we have in the system, it's still quite fatiguing for sort of thing for me to be able to recount what happened in a session and then translate it into a concise sort of a way. I do need some time after that to kind of wind down and get prepared for my next session.
Did you want to talk about porous, healthy, and rigid boundaries, or I can do it?
Yeah, you can go for it.
Okay. So we've been talking about boundaries, but they come on a spectrum. So I'll start at the most rigid boundaries. So rigid boundaries, I would consider not healthy boundaries. And that is, it's where you keep sort of everyone at arm's length. So a rigid boundary is if somebody invites me to something, I say no. So that's really rigid. It prevents you. It's a rule that you set for yourself that prevents you from engaging things that you value. And we go back to the values at the top. It can lead to isolation and sort of misconnection. If you, that doesn't mean that you can't have no rigid boundaries, but if all of your boundaries are extremely rigid, you are going to have those issues. So there are boundaries that I have that are rigid, that I do not touch, and that's okay. The next one is a healthy boundary. So that's where you set a clear expectation. It protects your values. They're assertive and consistent, but occasionally you can adjust. So if you're a parent, you'll know this. Maybe a boundary that I set with my daughter is when you finish dinner, you can have chocolate. That's an example. So when you do this, I will give you this. But if she doesn't have a big appetite that day, or she's especially upset after a big day at daycare, then the chocolate in the middle of the meal is completely fine. So a healthy boundary is one that's strong, firm, but also flexible. And then a porous boundary is one where you say yes too often for something that doesn't protect your values. You might over disclose things about yourself. You might be overly flexible. So if you say, hey, I finish work at 3, but somebody comes into you and says, oh, can you do this at 4 o'clock? And you say yes over and over and over again, that's too porous. And a porous boundary also allows people to cross them too regularly. And that is also an unhealthy boundary.
Yeah,
so
I think the porous boundaries as well, when we go through the different domains, because we've got, I think we're going to list, 8 different domains where we kind of focus on. I think that's where we really start to see how these sort of shape as well.
Yeah. So did you want to do that next bit?
Which one for the having something to protect?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I talk to people about. It is so easy to say no to something if you've got something that is very clearly, easily able to be communicated that you're trying to protect. I give the example, I had a friend a few years ago who was just an elite runner. And we would always try to convince him to like go out drinking with us and go do social sort of things. And he would come back instantly. No, can't do it. Training for a marathon. Easiest response in the world. I'm training for a marathon. And we were like, all right, well, that's fine. We'll leave him alone. That's probably my easiest example I can possibly give. This is somebody who's on a pathway. Here's a clear event that they're training for. There's the training that's involved in trying to get there. There's a sacrifice that he's making in order to get there. And everyone was just completely respectful that he's going to go do that thing. I absolutely loved that.
Yeah. Another example is I pick up my children from daycare in the afternoon. So my firm finish time is 3:30. So I can go pick them up because I value doing that. The daycare closes at 5:30. I could continue to keep working till 5:30 and go get them, but I value spending time with them when they're not exhausted at 5:30. So that's when I finish work. But that's, sometimes if it's 4 o'clock, that's okay. But it's firm but flexible.
Yeah, I've got the same 4:30 finish at work as well. And when I say finish work at 4:30, I don't respond to anything until after 7 o'clock when she's gone back to bed, when the baby's gone back to bed. Yeah, I finish work at 4:30, so I can go play with her, watch some Teletubbies, watch some Wiggles, play on the floor with her. If I don't do that, then I don't get to see her during the day.
Having children will definitely make your boundaries more important. That's for sure.
And it also is one of the best get out of jail free cards ever for when things you don't want to do but don't socially really know how to turn something down. You can always use the sick kid excuse. It's brilliant. That's one of the biggest benefits that I've found over the last few years. Can't make it, sick kid.
Yeah. What was one of the other bits was the skill of communicating them. So that's something that a lot of people struggle with. Got any examples, Liam?
Yeah, so I usually use the ones for understanding somebody's sensory needs over diagnosis. I'm not big on trying to overly disclose diagnosis when I'm trying to communicate my needs for different things. So an example for that would be, hey, is it okay if we go sit outside? It was going to be easier for me to hear what you're saying in the conversation. I really can't differentiate between sounds indoors, and I'm extremely sensitive to the sound of cutlery. Outdoors is okay because there's like other sounds that's going to mute that sort of a thing. And I'm able to be far more regulated in that conversation if it's outdoors compared to indoors. Like in a tea room, I'd be finished. There's no way I could survive in a tea room. Anybody who's worked with me in physical location would know I'm never in the tea room. I'm always out walking somewhere. But I'm also coming from a commercial sales background. The ability to get people on board with something that you would like them to do or an accommodation that you would like to have met does take nuance. So being able to be clear about like what is the benefit to both people as well of why should we do this thing that's in my preference. That's another big skill to sort of develop. And that probably takes more one-on-one development with therapists and experimentation to be able to develop that. But a really good understanding of what your needs are in different situations will definitely work towards that. So I know my sensory needs and my energy needs really, really well after all these years of analysis. And I'm able to protect that and communicate it very well without disclosing my diagnosis.
So I had a recent example where I was invited to a friend's party, and I knew that there was going to be lots of kids yelling and screaming, and I love children, but that does upset my hearing sensitivity. So I said to them, I will come for 2 hours and I will wear my headphones. And I got kickback. And so this is one of the bits that makes boundaries challenging, is when you state what you're going to do or what your needs are and you get kickback. What do you do, Liam?
It's tough. Trying to find a way that is accommodating for both. It is tough. That does take nuance, especially if for late diagnosis.
Who was asking about kickback? Oh, it was like, why do you need to do that? You don't have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if people have known you for 40 years without an understanding of diagnosis, and then all of a sudden you're trying to get accommodations, there can be a lot of social kickback to that. So
there's probably a lot of late diagnosed people in this webinar.
And this is especially common that I see with my clinical supervision caseload for late diagnosed therapists as well, of now going into an existing workplace and trying to advocate for accommodations.
So do we all. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's those sort of things where it does take nuance. It does take a bit of experimentation.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. I mean, so I still went, I wore them, but I said 2 hours, but I left after 1. It was too much. But then I had another one where I was invited to go watch the rugby, Australia versus Ireland. And I said, it's too crowded. Can we just watch it at your house? And my friend, who is also neurodivergent, is like, hell yeah, man, that's what I want to do too. So it's about sometimes the right people, when you communicate your boundaries, will be super happy with them, and the wrong people might not be.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then you've got a choice to make about, you know, are you going to spend time with this person and or what terms you're going to spend time with these people.
Yeah. And I also think as well, there's opportunities for education. So a lot of neurodivergent people will struggle with theory of mind and understanding that other people can't see their perspective. Like there's almost an expectation, oh, everyone can see what I can see, when the actual reality is, if you haven't articulated what your needs are in different situations, a lot of time there's going to be a gap between unmet needs. So expectation versus the actual reality of getting your needs met can come down to educating other people about what your needs are in different situations and how well you can articulate them as well.
Yeah, and I would recommend articulating your needs through a boundary. Like, I need noise cancelling headphones at loud parties, etc., instead of trying to explain to somebody who might not wish to understand or might not understand you have autism and, you know, you're sensitive to noise. They might not want to hear that.
Yeah. And it's interesting with late diagnosis as well, where there is some pushback from people who don't really believe it, or if they've known you for a long time without the diagnosis of, like, are they just seeing too much stuff on TikTok or anything like that? That's where it becomes a thing of mutual benefit for what accommodation that you're trying to meet. It's like, instead of saying no to going to see your friend, you found a way to see your friend in a more accommodating sort of way.
Yeah. Oh, we're all... Don't get me started.
in this group, I think we are. Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Did you want to go through the 6 steps of setting a boundary so we can give everybody some Q&A?
Yeah, 100%. So this will look different for everybody, but I think a lot of it comes down to we've developed sort of a 6-step sort of a process just so we can kind of lay it out. But this is a long-term thing that we do through with our clients. So there's the stages of awareness, what you actually need to have met, what needs that, what accommodations you're trying to get, and what you're trying to protect. Stating it clearly, finding a way that's confrontational, but in a very nice sort of way. You can articulate it incredibly well, and doing it consistently. I think that's one of the things around porous, healthy, and rigid boundaries, is how consistently can you state what your boundaries are, and being okay with some pushback. And this will also come down to the domain that we're talking about. If it's something like a technology boundary that you have, or it's a financial boundary, or a thing around, like, not wanting to talk about politics, okay, that's something that you might get pushback on. And being adaptable. So finding ways to be able to negotiate situations and find good middle ground with these sort of things. That's where we start looking at the rigid versus porous and healthy again. And then if you're somebody who's gone from maybe a people-pleasing sort of a background with very porous boundaries, or not realizing that you can protect some of the things that you want to protect, it's managing the guilt and learning how to say no in a way that that is actually okay for you as well, and facing that sort of rejection when you do say no. That's probably one of the biggest things to actually go through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started getting aware of boundaries and sort of building them into my life, there was a lot of guilt. Nowadays, it's fine. Like, I've got that skill, and I don't feel bad when I state one, enforce one, restate it over and over again if I need to, whatever that is. I'm able to do that now.
Yeah, I'm probably coming from a background of more rigid, of like, I just say no, and have never really had much of an issue with it, and now finding ways to be more accommodating now that I've actually got
gone
kid
back
and
the other
all
way.
those sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah, going from rigid to healthy instead of porous to healthy.
Very much so.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
And
I'm
also
going that way
having
around.
having
Yeah.
having a team behind me now as well. So now I've got I think 5 employees plus family. Like I need to be accommodating for each one of those people. If I'm really rigid with that, then I probably won't have employees anymore.
Yeah,
They won't want to work with me.
that's true. All right, so we'll go through the different kinds or the domains of boundaries. So boundary type number 1 is physical boundary. So you might be uncomfortable with people in your space. You might be uncomfortable with touch. So that's the awareness piece. And then what you need to do is decide what your limits are and your response in advance. So one thing we maybe forgot to say earlier is you want to avoid boundaries after the fact. So good, healthy boundaries are decided in advance, and you've got like sort of preset responses to things that might happen. So deciding a boundary afterwards is a bit tricky because you're sort of trying to put the genie back in the. I just used an expression, but so an example of like a physical boundary would be, I'm not a hugger. A wave works for me. Or I know a lot of people since COVID stopped shaking hands, so having the fist ready to go at goodbye time. So those are some boundaries. So I don't shake hands. You don't have to say it out loud. Just put your fist up. That's how it is.
And there's also other things that you can look at depending on what your lifestyle looks like. So I really don't like standing in line, and also don't like working out around a lot of people. So I'm really intentional about ordering my like groceries online to be delivered and going to the gym at off-peak times. Like just little things like that for my physical boundaries. Like, and it even gets to driving on the freeway. I like to have a lot of space compared to the car in front of me. So I will do everything I possibly can to have that 3-second gap. I'm really not big on sitting like bumper to bumper to people. So I don't drive in a lot of traffic. So there's a lot of things that I do to protect my physical boundaries that a lot of people probably wouldn't think of.
Yeah, like avoiding peak hour. So your boundary is I don't drive in peak hour traffic.
No, I try to
That's your
avoid
boundary.
it, or I drive
Yeah.
in a defensive sort of way. I stick to the left-hand lane. I stick to the back roads, those types of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So another boundary type is relational, and that can look like people pleasing or being far too rigid and not letting, like saying no to absolutely everything. And those types of things can lead to resentment and feeling like a doormat or feel like you're easily pushed around. Without communicating that boundary or without having that in place, people will get used to being able to treat you in a certain way until you step in and stop it. So it's often, like I said, it's often not the other person acting maliciously towards you, although that can happen. It's usually people get used to treating you a certain way because you allow it. So a boundary you might set for yourself is if you get a request, you might say, let me check and get back to you. So that is I'm going to take the time I need before I decide yes or no on this thing. Another one is emotional boundaries. So feeling responsible for other people's happiness. So it's sort of a boundary. An example you might try is I care about how you feel and I can't fix this for you. So you're stating that you care about the person, but then afterwards you're saying, hey, I'm also not responsible for fixing this issue.
And just a simple comment of something like, okay, I'm a little bit confused by this situation. Do I offer support or do I try to engineer a solution? Like just in a nicer sort of way, but like what would best support you in this situation? Would it be additional support or would it be me trying to fix the situation? That can be a way to address that one as well.
Yeah. So another boundary type is a time boundary. So we sort of use these to prevent burnout, time debt, or prevent from being overly available all the time. There's quite a few health professionals in this group, so we're taught to always be available for our clients, but doctors aren't always available for our clients, so you have to book in and see them. Psychologists, definitely very, very good with their boundaries, that you have to book in an appointment to see them. So some examples of some boundaries that you might set is, I don't take work calls after 6 p.m. I will reply to you in the morning. Here's my online booking system. This is when I'm available. You're welcome to choose. So that's sort of, you're choosing how you're available. We already chatted about that earlier.
Yeah, and just having things like out of office messages, having things in your email signature on the days that you process admin. So I know with you, Nick, or at least before, you had CEO Friday, where you did a lot of your admin work on Fridays, and you're going to be more available to that sort of communication on that day.
Yes.
And just the thing of like, you do need to be intentional about your week when you're setting this stuff up. Like, you need to have a pretty good idea of what your work capacity is. And yes, the right to disconnect as well. That's a massive one. I think employers can be exploitive with that sort of thing.
We can't
in
anymore
different
because
industries.
of the laws, but yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be a much bigger issue, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So another boundary type is identity boundaries. So an example you might try is that doesn't work for me anymore. So if somebody is treating you a certain way, or expecting you to do a certain thing, and you've been saying yes, 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 but that's burning you out or building resentment, it can be as simple as saying, that doesn't work for me anymore. I don't do that anymore. Easy as that. Now, there'll be kickback, there'll be guilt, but we are doing these things not to upset others, but actually improves your relationship, because you aren't quietly building resentment or aren't quietly burning yourself out by saying yes, 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 yes to everything.
And I think this is probably one of the hardest ones for a lot of people to actually develop, that sense of identity, and what are the things that you actually want to protect. A lot of the late diagnosed people that I see, they've spent their lives playing a role of what they expect others to expect from them, and trying to live up to that, with trying to suppress what they truly wanted to be.
Masking.
Yeah. And like, to see the transformation over a period of time, a year or two, that you might be working with somebody, where they develop that sense of identity and the things that they want to protect, and you see that it can cause conflict within their relationships, their employment, those sort of things, when they realize, oh, I was actually being encroached through this. This was actually being harmful, that I wasn't protecting this.
Yeah. Another boundary type is intellectual boundary. So an example of when that boundary is not healthily applied is adopting other people's views to avoid conflict. So a really good example that I can teach somebody is, we see this differently, and I'm going to leave it there. So what you're saying is, this is what I'm going to do, and I don't mind is another boundary. I don't mind if we see things differently. That's okay.
And I think this one is interesting as well, of what type of boundaries that you will allow from your social media feeds. And I think people would be shocked at how influential your feed can actually be on your view of the world. I've done this a couple of times over the last few years, when I noticed it around election times, where my feed just started becoming incredibly negative. I didn't realize it until a few days after, but it was just being bombarded with different things. It's like, here's all these things about Trump or whatever. And I didn't realize it was having a flow-on effect to the rest of my life. Having a cleanse of your social media feeds, whether it's YouTube, whether it's whatever, changing who you're following, and doing a really intentional cleanse of that and replacing it with, I don't know, I replaced mine with a lot of things around like camping and outdoors related stuff. Completely changed my feed, and like my outlook on life improved.
Yeah, I just had a social media a week off a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and this can be a really big one for clinicians and LinkedIn, because it can get pretty negative out there, especially when we have NDIS policy changes. It can get like really, really negative. So that could be another good time of just identifying who you're listening to on the feeds as well, and being able to maybe quieten them for a few weeks as things go through.
So my LinkedIn boundary is I check once a day. So I schedule my post outside of LinkedIn. I don't use a different app. So I don't have to go into LinkedIn to actually schedule my post. And then I check once a day for 5 minutes and then I log back out. So that's my boundary. And that protects my energy so I don't get sucked into the NDIS drama. I know it's there, but I don't have unlimited energy to give to that as much as I'd like to. So that's what I do.
So these last two ones. So we've got devices and availability, and I think we're both in agreement on this one, Nick, of probably avoiding screen time in the evenings, trying to move more towards more passive media consumption. If you're going to do anything, I like to watch like Lost and Modern Family at night and turn the computers off, turn the phone off. I know you like to go to the gym or go to yoga at night and read books. I mean, I love reading books as well. Former librarian, I've always enjoyed reading books. The blue light, the scrolling, the constant context changes that you get from using a device, that's another thing that that can definitely be modified, I think.
So a boundary for that would be I protect my sleep by minimizing screen time at night. So that would be your boundary. That's your internal rule.
And also just setting expectations with people of like how long it takes for you to respond to messages.
Yep.
People know
my
very
website
well
says 1 to 2 days.
Yeah, people know very well with me. Like it may take 3 or 4 days before I respond to an email. It's just it's because I'm spending my time on working with the client. Most email requests for me, they're not urgent. I don't have a lot of urgent things in my practice. Like it's not really the way it works. So expecting an urgent reply probably isn't going to get too far.
There was one more boundary type. You want it?
Oh, yeah, money and obligation. So money is a big one. There's Nick, you also probably see this as well with your clients, but who are going through separation. There's a lot of things that can happen around not having a shared idea around money in relationships, and there's a lot of opportunities for abuse in that. Unfortunately, I've seen that with a few of my clients as well, and that's probably one of the hardest ones to deal with because it could be devastating, absolutely devastating.
Yeah, another money boundary is like I don't lend money to people. That could be an example. Or I don't work for free. If I'm delivering value, I'm going to charge for it. That's another one.
Charging for your cancellations, charging for when you actually write reports for people, and being realistic about how long some of those reports actually take to write. And pushing back against like support coordinators who will say, can we do this for X amount, when in reality it's going to take 5 times that length. There's things in there as well.
It's also common in the disability community to be expected to work for free just because you have a disability.
And I think another one, I'm going to take this one from when I did my master's in finance 15 years ago. Dr. Krishna Prasad, my tax and corporate law professor, he said, if you're going to lend money to somebody, feel free to lend money to them, but get something for security. So if you're going to lend $500 or something, take their car keys for a week. See how that works.
Yeah.
just having those sort of boundaries in place. Yeah, I'll lend you money as long as I have security for it.
Yeah. Or another boundary is I don't lend money, but I'm happy to give you a small gift. That could be another one. I've done that.
I'll make you dinner.
Yeah.
I'll drive you to the bank. I'll do whatever you need to do. I'll help support you in this. But no, I'm not going to be lending you money.
Yeah. No, I've done that. So Q&A.
It's a sandwich. Love it. Let's open up the chat and see. Or if anyone wants to jump on the call,
if you want to unmute, go for it. Oh, surely somebody has a boundary issue that we can help solve.
No one wants to talk. Thank you for this today. Really enjoying meeting other neurodivergent OTs. I'm enjoying it.
It's one of yours.
I'm enjoying it.
Out there, yeah. But yeah, Nick and I are both coming from this background of being very intentional about how our business also supports our sensory and energy needs. And that in itself is a boundary that we've both developed. So we both have pretty much telehealth-based business, if I'm right, Nick?
Yep. Yeah, I do just some local work. If you're nearby and like it's telehealth's not appropriate, I'd definitely get in the car. I don't mind. Yeah.
But yeah, like
mostly telehealth.
Both of us found in our professional life, because we're the same age, and our professional roles, being in that office environment probably wasn't a good fit. From the sensory overwhelm, from the level of communication needed, the social drain, the level of transitions, the overall demands of that, compared to where we can perform as independent business owners and being able to be incredibly intentional about how we set all these things up for ourselves, is night and day of how much we can thrive when we're that level of independent.
We've also created like platforms that the people that come to see us prefer as well. Yeah. One of my clients is in walking distance from my house, but they're like, no, telehealth. No. I don't want to like have to clean the house and have you around. Like, I'm like, I'll happily walk over. But yeah,
and because I do so much of the gaming based stuff, a lot of my clients have the preference of not making eye contact.
Wear clothes. Yeah. I do appreciate when my clients wear clothes.
Yeah, I've sometimes the camera's been on and they haven't been dressed all that well. Absolutely. But yeah, like those sort of preferences for some of my telehealth clients to not be on camera allows them to be themselves, allows them to be unmasked, because we're doing something, a joint activity in game or something, and dropping all those additional sensory and physical communication demands allows them to be much more authentic about themselves.
Yeah, it's wonderful. No questions.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Of course you can. And please don't say sorry.
I was wondering if you have any go-to resources or anything that you like to use to explore this with clients. Yeah.
Do you want to share the link for the podcast, Liam?
Oh yeah, there's a absolutely brutally long 4-hour podcast.
It's 4 hours long.
Who did it? It was what
Mark
did they?
Manson. I'll get
Mark
it.
Manson. Yep.
I'll put it in the chat. Give me a minute.
Yep. And I'm also going to be doing a resource hub with this podcast, with this recording, and all the resources that we've done on my website as well. So that's sshealth.com.au. That'll be coming out probably this weekend. But it'll have full interactive, all the timestamps, everything like that, and be able to share that.
Thanks, guys.
So basically, we both listened to this episode.
And we'll probably just sitting there just going, yes, all of these things. Yeah, finally somebody's saying it.
I'll find it. I'll put it up in the next episode.
Yeah, I'll add it to the website as well. It was a really good episode where they just go absolutely in depth to every single part of it. They go through the philosophy side of things, everything.
Where they came from, the history, a lot.
Yeah. So they really expose so much of it. We're more coming from it of how we're actually implementing this with our clients and for ourselves from a neurodivergent sort of lens.
There's a bunch of books on Spotify about it too. We'll get there.
But yeah, I'll be putting up a resource for a lot of communication strategies that you can use as well. I really like working on people with their playbook of how to respond to different situations and how to articulate it as well as possible. I'll just open up the chat.
Do you want to speak that out loud? So we might be able to help you there. That's the episode in the chat there, everybody.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, all that to the website. But yeah, Navina, that seems like a very complex sort of a situation where somebody's trying to impose something on you, like their rule.
Yeah, but okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Got it. You're probably sitting at your desk at work.
But yeah, that sounds
that.
very much like a rule somebody else is trying to impose on you, and you're facing that sort of rejection.
Yeah, it was. So I would like an example of something you might consider using is, I understand that you don't want this. I'm going to do it anyway. That's a boundary.
Mm.
It's as easy as that, or something in that realm.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I do a lot of these types of scenarios in session where it's like, oh, Nick, like, let's talk through this really complex.
Yeah, because sometimes there's going to be some more in-depth things around it that we might need to delve into. But that to me sounds like a rule somebody else is trying to impose on you, and you're feeling what it feels like to have that sort of constraint. That's not so much how you respond to that would be the boundary. Yeah, and there'll be a much more in-depth sort of resource for that. I'm coming from a commercial sales background where we have to pretty much get people on board with what we're trying to articulate, and trying to do that in as an accommodating way as possible is part of that sales process. Sales is a very underrated thing when it comes to counseling and therapy as a background. Because you have to understand somebody's problem extremely well if you're going to be able to offer a solution. It's not a sleazy sort of a process. It's like it's a real strong communication sort of background. And being able to articulate what your needs are to other people and get them on board with the solution does take nuance, does take some experimentation, and also being able to protect what you want to protect with it. Yeah, and that's probably going to the feedback process that you're going to face. So, Navina's just mentioned that how you respond to it.
Oh,
Neurodivergent with a very long text message. Okay, that sounds absolutely on point. Yep, very relatable. It'll all be free, freely available. There won't be any downloads or anything. It'll all be interactive on the website. There won't be any paywalls or anything like that. There won't be any signups. It'll all be completely available. I just like giving away these resources. Oh, sure.
We don't just run these we could probably sell these webinars, but we do really want to help neurodivergent people around the country. So we do this because we love it as well. It helps us to learn these things for ourselves as well.
Yeah, so
teaching others teaches you.
I've got resource on the website. Like I've got a shared lexicon, so we have like a full understanding of shared terms that we're trying to discuss with people. I've got a communication app on there for different situations where you might go nonverbal. That's one of my things that happens to me. If my energy is too drained, then I lose that sort of verbal processing. So I've made an AAC app specifically for that with a whole bunch of different situations.
What's your
but
boundaries around the communication in that sense? So what would your actual internal rule for that be?
my usual thing would be to avoid the situation. This is the way that I'm able to present myself and still communicate.
Yeah.
So how do
when
I show
when
up as
learn
authentically as I can?
Yeah. So when I lose verbal fluency, this is how I communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the boundary.
Yeah. So it's how I respond to situations and what am I trying to protect. So I hate going to get coffee and asking for specific types of coffee, especially if it's a loud clanging sort of environment. I just can't deal with it. If I can hold up an app and it says, this is what I want, clearly as hell, I love that. This is why I prefer to go places with QR code ordering.
Mm,
No mistakes, just type in that thing. Perfect.
easy.
If there's no more questions, I think we can start wrapping this one up.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. There you guys. Everyone's starting to drop out.
Oh, yeah, cool. Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Have a good day. Talk to you later, Liam.
Thank you. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.